God, I miss the North Country, no power lines, no dead-end streets. Mother Nature waits for me back in the North Country.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on a long overdue Northwoods Ramble. I am Seeley Dave and this is my new co-host, Cowboy. We are still coming to you though from my little log cabin office at the base of the Hollywood Hills, just outside bustling downtown Seeley, Wisconsin on the banks of the Namakagon River. Seeley is still home to the Sawmill Saloon where you can still get an absolutely delicious old-fashioned, and whether you like yours made whiskey, pressed, sweet, sour, any way you want it, they're all delicious, but they are finished with a few dashes of regret. So the long delay has been for a number of reasons. One, I've got a new focus going forward with the podcast, but also I had an injury. I was up on a roof moving a heavy ladder. I ended up with a hernia, and then between the injury and then surgery and recovery, I've been off the bike for about 3 months. I'm back on again and have started adventuring again in the Northwoods. So I've got some tales to tell about that. But then TJ, my past co-host, he changed careers and his availability has changed, so he hasn't really been able to be on the podcast. And I do like to have a co-host, and so I've now got this guy who never says no. Well, sometimes he says no. But the other exciting thing, and a reason in large part for the change in direction of the podcast, is that I've got a new bike. I picked up an Omnium V3 Wi-Fi cargo bike. It's a front loader cargo bike that is non-e-assist. It's an acoustic cargo bike, but it has a front deck on it that's relatively low and has room for him to come along. So I can now bring Cowboy with me and we can go dog packing. So not only does that let me bring him along, but it also means I now have somebody to go with me who doesn't say no on short notice when I come up with, hey, let's go bike packing this weekend. So Cowboy will be joining me on most of these episodes, and a lot of the video footage and the photography that I'll be sharing with you from trips will be with that Omnium Cargo bike and Cowboy, and we'll be talking quite a bit about dog packing as I learn how to do it more and as Cowboy learns how it fits in with his abilities. He's 10 years old, so having the ability to bring him on the front of the bike really is helpful, so he doesn't have to run the entire way, and it allows me to do longer trips still with him. So that I'm very excited about. We'll still have interviews with locals, and we'll still have interviews with people bikepacking through the area, stuff like that. So don't worry, that content will still be here. I'll probably still give some update on the flora and fauna and the changing of the seasons, things like that. But there will be a kind of a heavy focus on dog packing. So I hope you're looking forward to that as much as I am. In this first episode, we're not going to get outside. I'm actually going to not even be up north. I went back to Milwaukee and I did an interview with the shop owner, Greg Smith, at Everyday Cycles in River West neighborhood of Milwaukee, where I got the bike, where I got the Omnium. He's an Omnium dealer now, and he's been a longtime friend of mine. And so I interviewed Greg, and we take a look at my bike, how I've got it set up for bike packing, and then Greg pulls in another Omnium, the Mini-Max, which he's got an e-assist version of in the shop, and we take a look at that and how the bikes differ and discuss those two things. So in the first one, it's mostly me chatting about how I set up my Omnium, but he was involved in that whole build process. And in the second interview after that 10-minute interview or 50-minute review of my bike, we do another 15 minutes or so with Greg where he goes over the details of the Mini-Max and the e-assist, and it's an auto shift bike. It's kind of cool, it sounds like. So I hope you stick around for that. If geeking out about cargo bikes is not your thing, then you may want to just wait till the next episode, where I will have some video from Cowboy. In my last trip, we biked up to Beaver Lake Campground and did some fishing there and exploring in the woods up in Marengo, sort of north of Climb Lake. So so that'll be in the next episode, which I should be able to get out fairly soon because it's all been recorded. And so there will not be a very long wait for the following episode after this. So we're going to jump right back down to Milwaukee now and join Greg Smith of Everyday Cycles in his shop with Omnium. And hope you stick around for that. Thanks for coming along on this Northwoods Ramble. Hey, it's Seeley Dave. Welcome back to another Northwoods Ramble. For this one, I'm actually down south. I am in the shop where I bought my Omnium Cargo bike. That is going to be the new focus, the dog packing focus of the Northwoods Ramble. We'll still have, as I mentioned earlier in the introduction, interviews with locals in the Seeley, Cable, Hayward area, but and other people bikepacking through that area. But I thought for the start of this new direction in the podcast, that's going to be kind of heavily focused on dog packing and on this Omnium Cargo bike, that it'd be worthwhile to go through the bike a little bit more, talk to the guy who helped me get one, and then he's going to show you another model and the Mini-Max and some of the other accessories that are available. So anyway, this is Greg Smith from Everyday Cycles.
How's it going?
Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, well, so Greg also runs the Full Spectrum Cycling podcast and was an early podcast adopter with fatbike.com radio. Was it fatbike.com radio?
Yeah, that's what we called it.
Yeah.
Weekly Dose of Fat was the show that did the best on the site, and then I've actually been doing podcasts since 2006.
2006.
Yeah, when I started with slope soaring. It's a very big niche for podcasting.
Is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
But it was fun to do it. You know, those early days, kind of like, you can make all the mistakes you want because nobody's watching.
Well, hey Greg, so you helped, I got this frame from Greg through Brandon at Omnium.
Right.
He's your U.S.
He's actually an employee of Omnium, but he's their U.S. guy, and he runs the distributing out of Chicago. So it's nice and close to work with. He was a bullet guy for quite a while.
Okay.
So.
Does he speak like German or Danish or something like that?
That's a good question. If you go to Denmark, I think everybody there
speaks English in Denmark.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah,
he may speak Danish for all.
Yeah, or at least German or something. But
real good guy for sure.
Yeah, so he helped us get this one and get Greg started as a dealer, and we built it up together here in this shop, right in this very spot, using some parts that I had and some parts that I was able to buy at my sort of advocate discount through our local state bicycle industry, like Hayes, Brakes, and like that. So let's just walk through this thing.
Sure.
So I've got it set up for dog packing, and this is like underbed storage is the key to my dog packing solution for bins. I can't find like a good Rubbermaid bin that's skinny and not too tall, you know. So I've looked to underbed storage.
So this one looks nice. You had the other, last time I saw you, you had the plastic underbed.
A little bit bigger, yeah. So I have a 40-pound Houndy mix, Houndy Border Collie mix. He's 40 pounds, and he's significantly longer than like Mira LaPera and most of the other dogs that you see on dog packing videos. Mira LaPera is a healer. We have a healer Border Collie mix too, and she's like, she's this long, and Cowboy's that long because he's Houndy. So I need kind of a long basket, and then I found that he is still a little nervous riding off-road because it's bumpy and stuff in this. He's happy to hop in and out. He does everything fine, but he gets a little nervous. So that lower one that you saw, which was wider, and I thought that would be better for him because he has more room to lie down in it. He didn't feel quite as snug.
Yeah.
So he sits, when he gets in, he hops in and out. I've got a leash. I've got a hat attached to it. I put my Luke's a 99er hat on, and so I've got a leash attached, just belay strapped to the back of the thing right here. It's a short, lightweight 10-foot leash. He doesn't really pull or anything like that. It's basically just because he's houndy, he chases deer, he chases squirrels, he chases anything that triggers his, I could eat that. And he doesn't just chase them for a little bit and come back, he keeps going. So I keep that on just in case we round a corner and there's 5 deer.
Sure.
And then it also helps if there are other dogs around and stuff, I can, easily pull them back and have them hop in. But he hops in and out by command. He pushes his butt back into the back corner here and holds himself in there like kind of secure.
Paws in the front.
Yeah, paws sort of out front. He hasn't yet gotten to the point where he feels comfortable lying down while we're riding.
Okay.
All of our trips so far have been about 20 miles, 25 miles at a time, of which he runs 30% of that.
Okay.
So the last one, which was about that distance, by the end of the day, he was kind of starting to lie down a little bit, but he wasn't full on. Like you see Mira LaPera and some of these other dogs are just laying there, their heads are resting on the foam tubing pattern, which is that's just pipe insulation.
Yes, you got a nice pad inside.
Yeah, and I cut up a 10 millimeter exercise mat, like yoga mat, to fit in there for padding for him. And then underneath, got a bunch of other crap in here. Underneath the padding, I keep his little folding. It used to be mine, now it's his. His folding water thing so I can give him water.
He usually has a frisbee too.
Yeah, he's not a frisbee chaser. But so that's the basket, and then I just zip tie it on. Usually when I'm going on a trip, I'm here in Milwaukee, so I'm at everyday cycles in Milwaukee in the Riverwest. We should say that, right? Yeah.
The bikes are on the second floor.
Bikes are on the
That's
second
right.
floor.
That's what I christened it since we were on the second floor.
Yeah, and people that want to come, they should call or
email's probably the best, but we do have a shop phone. It's just it's not always with me, so it stays here. And I'm working mostly by appointment and a lot with cargo bikes, electric conversions, and repairs on electric bikes that people buy somewhere and can't find anybody to fix them. And we still do custom builds and such, but yeah.
So anyway, I would normally, if I was traveling with Cowboy, I'd have this front part extended out further. It's kind of jammed in, but you've got one laying.
Yeah, there's one right there.
Here's one. So this little extender is an accessory, and I usually would have it slid out a little bit more, and so the basket would be a little bit further, and then right in this area right back here makes a really nice area for, I've got like one of those compression bags, and I can fit both my tent, my sleeping bag, my air mattress, my air pillow. Cowboy has his own sleeping bag and his own, he uses this as his mattress. But so I can fit all of that, the tent and all of basically our shelter, everything we need, right back behind there. And then so the rest of the bike, I've just got an old Relevate Ranger frame bag that I have for my gravel bike. It doesn't fit ideally. I want to get a custom Sodero made for it. But I've got this for now. And then an Old Man Mountain Divide rack with their panniers and their, I think it's called a Juniper trunk bag, I think.
Yeah, they look good.
So their panniers, they're pretty nice. These panniers fold down, and they've got a thing to cinch them, so if there's nothing in them, you cinch these things and flatten them out more, so they're narrower. They're 100% waterproof.
Seam sealed and all that.
Yeah, all of that. They're not easy. They're not like an Harley where you just, I want to take it off and take it in. Like the process of, they're just Velcros, but the process of doing it is not quick. So there's a strap on the bottom, and then you can take that off, and you have to lean the things up, and then you have to undo the straps.
Okay.
They're good panniers. They fit what I need. They're not too big, but they're not necessarily what I would consider ideal. I might think that I'm used to being able to take my panniers off
Yeah.
the urban.
Yeah, with our kelp system or
Yeah.
system, you just pop it up and
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for mountain biking and gravel, we're on pretty rough roads. I wondered if like the Ortlieb system would hold up, but it seems to have because they ventured fully into the gravel pannier departure and stuff like that. But so, and what makes the reason why I got this bike, this Omnium, for dog packing, as opposed to like I have a longtail, an E-Assist longtail, but it's modified, so I could have made it acoustic again. Is the Cowboy never seemed to like being in the back.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I don't know what it is, but if I put a bin in the back, he never liked it back there. So I think he just likes being able to see and know where he's going and feel like it just worked out much better. And this is the only that I'm aware of non-custom cargo bike that fits mountain bike tires that isn't assist. There's lots of assist bikes that fit big, fat, knobby tires. But if you look at like a Bullet or any of the other front loader cargo bikes, you're lucky if you can fit a 2.0 on them. And I'm not a 2.0 knobby. And I ride on gravel and mountain bike trails. So
you've got
2.4s I've got on this.
Yeah.
You could squeeze a 2.6 in, but it's nice to have some mud clearance.
Yeah.
You know, there's not really mud clearance for 2.6s. So the 2.4s I'm mostly on gravel, and the single track that I ride is pretty buffed out. This thing handles pretty well on, just the other day I rode up to return some books to the library in Cable. I live in Seeley, and so I rode Seeley Pass up north from the Campbell Mountain Bike Trail, Seeley Pass, which is a narrow sort of old school, trail. And the bike was just fine. The bike was fine. Cowboy ran. He gets out and runs every climb and skinny single track and stuff like that. He runs. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Got a nice cockpit set up with Jones bar.
So I've got Jones bars. At first when we built this up, we didn't cut the steer at all. And I felt like this was probably tall enough. It's about level with my saddle. And I find like I wouldn't mind the Jones riser bar. I've got Jones riser bar on one of my other bikes. And just another 2 inches might be nice. So I may add a Jones riser bar. Or if there is another, I don't need the Jones bar really.
Right.
So because I got so much front cargo space. So
we can talk about some of this stuff later, but the Wonder bar that they have does have a little bit of rise.
Yeah, that's got some rise to it.
And it's super wide.
Yeah.
If it's 800 millimeters, something, get the specs on it.
But so that would give me just a little bit more. So maybe I'll pick one of those up. I'll look through my bins full of bars too.
The nice thing about the way you did it with the frame set is they're not ridiculously expensive to buy the frame set.
Nice cargo bike,
if you're at
$1,500 or something
right,
like that.
Yeah, I'm still learning all of the actual retail selling price on the West Coast kind of stuff. But if you're somebody that has a quiver of bicycles already, you likely have parts that will work with it.
Except for that front.
Except the front wheel and the frame set. Those are like the only thing that, because it's a stock 29er rear wheel. And that's a spare 29er, I9, so I've got an I9 rear wheel on it. I've got SRAM NX, right? That's what we got. That's a GX. It's the one up. Which one is the SX, NX, GX, then expensive.
Okay, so that's GX. So I've got the not lowest. I've got the highest that isn't expensive.
Right. Yep.
Highest
before
level.
you get into the fancy stuff.
And then the one thing that, and I like that, it shifts fine. I've got that on a number of other bikes. The one thing that I absolutely love about this bike, and I've not had them before, are these Hayes Dominion 2-piston brakes. They have such great lever feel in terms of progression, and but the levers themselves feel really good with 2-finger or one. They're really good. These are the nicest brakes I think Hayes has ever made.
Yeah, they've had some hits and some misses over the years, but I think they kind of knocked it with the Dominion.
Yeah, the Dominions are amazing. I just have 160 rotors on, and I find they stop. It stops just fine. You think so? The bike itself weighs. I weighed it the other day. 41 pounds with nothing on it. With my basics that I can't go anywhere without it, the basket for Cowboy, a couple of bags and a frame bag and the rear rack and panniers and some tubes, it weighs 49 pounds. So I'm at 49 pounds with, pedals, light bags, everything.
Yeah, very nice.
And Cowboy weighs 40 plus pounds. So now we're at 89 pounds. And then when I go bike packing, I typically bring about 35 pounds of gear and camera gear and drone stuff and things like that, tripod and along. So
nice.
I am pushing 120 pounds.
Got nice peak design.
That is a very sweet
The
case.
one that I have is the out front one, and this one I like better. I just haven't made the
The out front one lets you very easily do video. That's kind of nice.
How to get it off of there. There we go.
But yeah, so I've got that on there. I have a mount for my Wahoo Roam. I use that, the Wahoo Roam, for general guidance, and I have my phone, the route always on my phone if I got to look at something in better detail and stuff. So
Cool.
And I have the P&W Coast suspension dropper on here, and I have that mounted moto over here on top because I sprained this thumb. So the more I can not do with this thumb, the better.
Cool.
So
Very tidy. Everything's
and this is a suspension dropper post. It does
That's
take a chatter.
really cool.
Yeah,
Suspension.
really nice. I haven't ever ridden like an E-Silk, King Creek E-Silk, any of the other, since like my ancient USE suspension seat post. But this takes the chatter out of, and the big hits it's very good at taking out big hits.
Now you've got the cargo version, which has the wheel all the way up front. In a little bit, we're going to look at the Mini-Max, which is just slightly shorter. But you said something about it when you're on the trails, kind of riding like a magic carpet. It's steel. It's got a little bit of forgiveness to it. And
anybody that's listened to your podcast, the Full Spectrum podcast, I've called in on it before, and we've talked about this. And early on, I was convinced I would need a suspension for it. I have one on my long tail. I have a Mastodon, a Manitou Mastodon on my long tail as a front suspension, and it's saved that bike for me riding on rough ATV trails and stuff like that. So based on that experience, I thought I was going to need a suspension fork. Brandon said, I don't know, it's kind of a magic carpet ride, and he was totally right. This takes all the chatter out of washboard on the gravel roads and going over rocks and stuff because it's out front. The front wheel maybe moves, but my hands don't move that much. Cowboy gets a few bumps, but like I said, if it's real rough, he runs when it's real rough. So it's an amazing, comfy ride, and it's also surprisingly stable when you're going down fast, loose gravel. That feeling. Kind of like you're steering, but you drift a little bit because the gravel's kind of round, so your bike sort of slides a little bit as you go around corners, and that can be a little nerve-wracking on a regular gravel bike with a short But I think because this is longer, it kind of takes the worry out of it.
Awesome.
I find it very stable. It's more stable with Cowboy in it on that loose stuff than it is when it's, unweighted in the front. So, which makes some sense. But yeah, this thing, I'm so happy with this bike. I ride it almost everywhere now. So
got other bikes for sale then?
No, I'm gonna keep them. I'm still keeping them. Yeah, but I tell you what. Why don't we pause here on this one, and then we're going to pop in the Mini-Max that Greg just got, and it's got a couple other accessories on it that are pretty cool, and it's e-assist, so we'll take a look at that next, and then we'll be right back with you. So
we're recording.
We're back. We're
Yeah,
back with the Mini-Max.
Yeah, so the Cargo that we saw before, Dave's acoustic bike, has the main difference between them is that his has the wheel that's further out front. It's 6 or 7 inches further forward, and the Mini-Max has it more in the center of the cargo rack. I primarily ride urban. I don't dog pack, so I don't have a dog. One of the reasons that I picked this bike up, besides being a dealer and having a demo bike, is because I want to carry some camera gear for live streaming in remote areas. I've just started with the Mevo Core system, which is really cool. We'll certainly be doing some videos about that down the road. But having a box this size, this is the Omnium box, which is not inexpensive, but the rain
cover.
Yeah, this is the rain cover, and that just pops off the box, and then it has a little stashy bag for the rain cover there. But it's a pretty good sized box, and when you're not using it, you can Velcro the sides, and it all folds down flat, which is nice.
And it's
so
really handy. If you want it, so this allows you, like, if you're an urban person that is using it for groceries 1 minute, and then you want to carry 2 big folding chairs to the park it for a concert, you fold it down. You don't have to remove the box.
Right. I've had the bike for a couple of weeks. I just got the box when we picked up another. This is a medium blurple. That's the color of it, and it's kind of iridescent. It's really a cool color. It's very attractive.
Yeah.
And then I just picked up a small Mini-Max, also in their Galaxy Black color. 2 reasons. It was the last one that they had until they get another shipment, and also I'm like right on the line between the medium and the small.
Okay.
I'm 175 centimeters, and that's like small goes up to it, and medium starts at it. And while I think the cockpit for me on the medium is pretty good, the standover, I wouldn't mind another inch of standover.
Sure.
So I'm going to see, it's approximately an inch shorter. This is like a 55 centimeter frame, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is somewhere in the 53 or 52 and a half or something. I would normally ride a 54, so a little big, a little small.
Yeah, I normally ride a 56.
Okay.
However, I'd say on mine, like, that as much as I love that co-suspension seat post, if I have it fully extended, it's just a little too, and I have it all set as low as it'll go.
Yeah.
It's a little high, so I always have to bump it down a couple of bumps when I'm riding it.
That would be nice to have the thumb control, because I got originally, this is a 125 millimeter travel.
Right.
But I replaced it with a 75 millimeter travel because this was way high. And then, you know, the only reason for me at this point to really have a dropper post is so that other people can ride the bike without having to monkey around too much. You can just drop it down. If it's a taller person, I'll have to raise it up. I normally pull the tube out. But,
because you're urban riding.
Yeah.
Although I found I like them for stop, just you're pulling over at a stop sign, instead of sliding off, you just hit the lever and your seat goes down, your feet touch the ground again, and I'm a big lover of dropper posts.
Yeah, at some point I may do the coast suspension post once I decide on the size that I'm really going to stick with for my own personal bike. And you know, you can run it internally if you want to, if you get the right version of the post. But I'm going to have to do the internal stuff too anyway, because these supernova lights, which are super cool, you run it inside and you got to drop the motor down and hook it up, and then the lights are powered by the system.
Nice.
Yeah, little tiny tail light. They're the best there is, and they're not shy about charging for them either.
Yeah.
That's obviously an option. But about the basic bike, it's a Shimano EP8 or 800 drive system. It's 36 volt power. It's a nominally 250 watt system, and
it's got a 20 mile per hour.
Right. Yep. And that's pretty set, because you start monkeying with Shimano stuff and they start to break out on you. It's like the controls are really simple for it. It's got 3 assist modes, Eco, Trail, and Boost, which you switch on the left one, and then on the right one, if you feel like it, you can shift. You can also, through the computer, set it to automatically shift. It's really cool.
That's what Tony said.
Yeah, it's a belt drive system, and it's a 5-speed, specifically made for e-bike Shimano hub.
Oh.
And it has a little gizmo on the side that you can electronically shift, which is great. But it can also shift based on cadence. That's how it decides when it's going to shift. And you can adjust that range of cadence from like 50 to 80 RPM or something. The motor itself, when you're pedaling, has a torque sensor. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. And I find the automatic shifting is really cool. It's just like, it just shifts, and it's sweet. The component level on the stock bikes is adequate, for sure. These are SRAM guide, RE brakes. It's a Gates belt. You can't
Right, yeah, that's everybody's got.
Really nice Shimano rear hub, obviously. And I don't know the wheels, they don't have a brand on them, but they're nice. They're wide, and it has Schwalbe Big Ben tires on, which for around town are really nice. And so is heavy fenders. During our recent Tour de Towner ride, the second half of the ride was all in the rain. And having not only the rack up front, which keeps you from getting splashed on, having the fender was super sweet. So yeah, I don't know. What do you want to know about it?
So the range we were discussing too. So it's 36 volts, which is,
Right.
I'm not used to that anymore. I'm used to usually 48 or 52.
Right, and you'll find that a lot with the Fang motors because people are trying to get 1,500 watts or 1,000 watts out of a motor. Being that this is only 250 watts, one of the things that's nice about 36 volts is to get the same capacity in the battery, which this one's 14 amp hours. If I had a second, I could go grab a 14 amp hour 52 volt battery. They're significantly larger because you maintain the capacity, but up the voltage, you need a lot more cells.
Okay.
So that's why this thing is relatively small. I mean, it surprised me how small it was. So that ride, mostly in eco mode. I don't even remember if I actually ever turned it off completely. But riding with other people, so I'm not trying to, race or anything. And after that 20-mile ride, there's a range estimate right through the computer itself. And in boost mode, which is the fast one, it was like 27 more miles. In trail, middle one, there was about 40 some. And then in eco, there was still an 80-mile estimate of range left, which is surprisingly a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to have to definitely
Test that.
verify. I'm going down to Bayview tonight, actually, to the Bayview rollout thing. So we'll be heading down that way. Probably doing 30 miles, give or take. So I will see if we get that same kind of estimate. But, it's human powered with a little bit of an assist. It's not making you Lance Armstrong. It might make you, like when I was 30 instead of 60. So.
Well, actually, so Tadej Pogacar on Monte Grappa, the 20th stage of the Giro, where he blasted away from everybody, he maintained 6 watts per kilo. He weighs like 66 kilos, so that's like 408 or 410 watts he put out for 52 minutes straight.
Wow.
So let's say you or I are putting out 150 watts, and you've got 250 watts. In theory, we've got Tadej's legs.
In the boost mode.
In theory, in boost mode, we've got Tadej's legs.
Yeah. So and I've probably got about 60 miles on it. I haven't put a ton of miles on it yet, but I did.
Did you weigh it at all?
I haven't weighed it yet. It's not bad.
It's my bike. I feel like other people pick up my bike that aren't used to picking up cargo bikes. I'm like, whoa, that's heavy. I'm like, I'm used to cargo bikes. I don't think 40 pounds is very heavy for a cargo bike.
Right. Yeah.
But
I'll strip it down sometime and weigh it. I am curious.
This feels noticeably heavier than my bike.
I think the drive unit adds around 8 pounds, and the
Okay.
battery is probably another 4.
Okay.
So it's probably
12
a
pounds.
10 or 12 pounds
Okay,
more
gotcha.
than the acoustic version. We also have, the hub is probably not super light. And I will eventually have an acoustic version so I can make an educated or an experience-based comparison.
Yeah.
But my feeling is that using it in eco mode basically makes up for the extra weight.
Makes it feel like
an acoustic bike without electric.
And you've got the bonus of if you're going up a big hill with a really heavy load, you can boost up that power and get up the hill.
Yeah. So I haven't done a ton of accessorizing yet. I have this bag which seems to work really well.
Yeah.
It's another Rebel 8. I think it was originally made for a Seeley cross-check or something like that.
Yeah, that fits pretty well.
Yeah, and it just had a nice slope for the battery. I can still swing the battery out of there. And then this is just a Rebel 8 top tube bag, which I don't even know if they make that version anymore, but it's really slick because it's magnetic.
And it's kind of wide and big.
Yeah, and just something to carry some stuff. I had the Insta360 on here. I'm going to have a couple more camera mounty things.
Yeah.
The dropper post, I think we talked about that. I swap pedals out. The stock pedal isn't bad. It's, depending on your foot size, it's a VP 469. But I thought for I almost always wear boots.
Yeah.
I need something with a little more platform.
Yeah.
So those VP aims are my go-to pedal. We talked about the handlebar before. They've got some nice little accessories. I mean, these are very air gun style grips.
Right. They really like this.
The stock ones are, they are like a foam grip. And then this thing goes with, it is a extra mount for the Supernova tail light that they do. They don't have a ton of accessories. It really doesn't, I mean, you can kind of make it, you paint your own palette with whatever you want, but some of the nice stock stuff, you can get right directly through them.
As we're discussing before, I think they have a great option for future accessorizing by the fact that that front deck, which weighs 5 pounds, I took mine off and weighed it. With this, I've got the straps for it.
The
webbing system for it. It weighs 5 pounds, just a hair over 5 pounds. It's four bolts to take it out. It comes off really easily. So you could accessorize this bike with custom front racks.
Yeah.
I mean, if they built them, they could have fully enclosed things. They could have narrower ones. They could have a bunch of different accessories.
You're going to weld up your own, you think?
I might. Yeah.
I think it might be an opportunity for 3D printed stuff even.
Yeah.
So I could see, I was thinking about if Dave's going to make a rack with what size, 4 inch or something, 3/8 steel tubing.
Yeah,
like chromoly tubing.
stainless.
I was thinking it would be cool if I get my kit the way I want it. I would like to have something that really hugs, a couple of tripods and all the gear that I'm going to have that will be pretty consistent. That it's just like all I need to take is that stuff and it just fits everywhere. But
right, and I've thought about that too. So I've thought about first and foremost, I want to get a custom frame bed made, and I can have it made. So because that's such a big rhombus, parallel frame, open frame on the full size cargo that I've got a spot my tripod zips right in here, and it's it's sized big enough that you could fit a lot on. The other thing I thought about you could do for the deck is you could have custom made bags like Sodero could make flat on the bottom, round on the top that strapped on, on either side.
Yeah,
They've got some underneath ones.
I think there's definitely some opportunity. I think this bag retails for $250 or something. It's cool because it lies flat, but it does just Velcro on too. So if you wanted to do something else to carry, it takes about 2 minutes to take it off. And there's other stuff like this thing I thought was really cool. I haven't even put it on yet, but it's a wedge bag that actually goes underneath the rack. Gives you more carrying room underneath.
Why did they say it's for the Mini-Max? Why?
There's a couple different versions of it. Brandon explained it to me, but this is the Mini-Max version.
I don't see why that wouldn't work on mine.
The way that the tube is made underneath is a little different. That one has more of an angle on it.
Oh.
We can compare them, but yeah, underneath the rack, it's got more of an angle. So they do have a bag for that bike as well.
Okay.
So.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Greg, for showing me this. The Omnium Cargo bike, I'm super stoked about it.
They're great.
I know. Now, I told you the other day, I was talking to a bike shop guy in Duluth. He said 4 shop racks there, all bought them, all the e-assist ones,
I can see that
for
for sure.
Duluth as their urban utility
It's a little
bike,
hilly over there.
and they can use them bike packing and stuff like that as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, we'll always have at least one bike for demo here because I'm going to have one, but I'm
Right.
going to try and keep an extra different one around so people can check them out. Let me know.
Everything signals.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess that's it.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming along on another ramble.
Yeah. Bye.
God, I miss the North Country, no